Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to People Talking Sitting Down, episode number 8. I'm your host, Christopher Antich, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time to check out the episode today. Today's episode features a very special guest, the first woman on the podcast, Miss Nicole Glass. Nicole is a Philly-based content creator who runs the account Affirmations for Black Men. Nicole embodies like everything that we want to do here at People Talking Sitting Down, which is sharing love and empathy with the world. And she's somebody who, when she walks into a room, she absolutely lights it up. She does the same thing with her content online. And I think during this episode today, you'll see how much love and positive energy that she carries with her in her heart, and how, authentic she is in the way that she wants to share it with the world. So I want to thank you guys for checking out the episode. I want to thank Nicole so much for coming to sit down and have this conversation. And if you want to support the podcast, please check us out on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube would be extremely helpful, and check us out on Instagram, everywhere else. Guys, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. I want to preface this conversation with a warning that we will be discussing difficult and sensitive topics throughout this episode. Terms or topics we use or discuss during this episode may be viewed as inappropriate if viewed or listened to out of context. This podcast focuses on the past, the present, the future, and our ever-changing reality. My hope is, always has been, and always will be to continue to grow, learn, and change. I believe that when we stop changing, we die. And therefore, it is likely, if not guaranteed, that in the future, parts of this conversation may not age well. I know that and accept it. From the bottom of my heart, I ask for your acceptance, for your kindness, your understanding, and for your time. For I'm a flawed human interviewing flawed humans, searching for answers to questions that I know I may never find. Welcome to People Talking Sitting Down. I hope it's worth your time. Well, welcome. I feel like we've already recorded half of a podcast since you've been here. But Miss Nicole Glass, so nice to see you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
As the first woman that we're having on the podcast, so I'm stoked about that. And
let's go. I didn't know I was your first woman.
Yeah, so this will be episode 8. And when I met you, I was locked on. I was like, everything that Nicole's doing is exactly what I want to have talked about here. So first, to be able to introduce yourself, and then also introduce Affirmations for Black Men and the content that you create that literally changes lives, I believe saves lives from what I've read and gathered. But yeah, over to you.
Awesome. Okay. Hi guys, my name is Nicole Glass. I am a full-time content creator behind Affirmations for Black Men. I do and give affirmations every single day, about 90 seconds to Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And I'm also in real estate and also like a creative entrepreneur in so many different ways. But my motivation and like my why behind it is to connect the men and women in my community. And I absolutely love what I do. I have so much fun with it.
Yeah. You can tell that's the other thing is like, I think one of what I like identify as my own like sixth sense, like I feel like I feel how people, when they're talking or acting or doing anything, or like how passionate they are. And every single one of your videos is the same energy. And it's like, you could tell like you're putting life into this. It's not just like hitting record and then like getting, straight. It's like, this is you and you're very authentic in it. And one of the first things I said to you when we met was like, look, I might not be your target market, talking about Black men's mental health and affirmations, but I'm moved by every single one of your videos and it makes a difference in my day. So
thank you. Oh my gosh. Flowers.
Yeah.
Like, I received the flowers.
I love that. I've just heard that saying for the first time the past 2 months, like give the person their flowers. And I really, I've tried to start doing that a lot more, just telling people,
Words of affirmation is actually my love language.
Really?
Yeah. That's how I receive love.
Is that in the, who wrote that book? Gary something? There's like the five love languages. Yeah. So that's yours. Mm-hmm. Has it always been?
Yeah, I would say so. Words of affirmation and actions.
Okay.
So acts of service, I believe it's called.
Nice.
So like when I do words of affirmation and I'm like really feeling the love within myself before I can give it to others. Yeah.
Is that something that growing up, as a child, like, is that something that started at that point, how you felt love, from your mom, and we're going to get into all the great work that your mom does and the impact that she's had on you. But is that something that you identified maybe in school or something like that?
No, at it's actually never something I gave myself or I feel like I received a lot of. Like I had a single mom, so she worked really hard. Like she would get home at like 8 or 9 o'clock, and so I was actually an only child, kind of in the house. Like I had a brother who's 14 years older than me, so we
Okay.
didn't grow up in the same house, and so like I was just like a really like lonely kid, and so I didn't never received like those types of things. And then I've been in therapy for 2 years. My therapist is like, you could just give yourself affirmations and pour love into yourself, and you don't need to seek validation outside of yourself. And that's
Yeah.
what she was really telling me. You can validate yourself. And that's how the words of affirmations to me started. I started giving affirming words in the mirror to myself every day, and it was working, and it was boosting my confidence. And like I could tell like my mood was shifting, and I was like, oh my God, this is so fun. Like
Yeah.
this is working, and I believe it.
Yeah.
This is crazy. And then that's why I started doing the content for other people.
So how long did it take you to get from starting to do it for yourself, taking care of yourself? Because I love, I say it almost every time, the oxygen mask example of like planes going down, you got to put your oxygen mask on first so that you can help the people around you. And I try to think about that all the time with my own, self-care, self-love. I'm not at my best. I can't be at my best here. I can't be at my best for my family, for my friends, if I'm not putting myself first and taking care of myself first. But how long did it take you to go from that journey of starting to do that for yourself to then looking around you and being like, all right, wait, I've got something here and it can help others?
Quickly, like within weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
That's epic.
Yeah. Like once I realized that it was something that was working, I was like, oh no, this is too good. Like I think I just living in and being African American and in my community, I think that my community suffers a lot with self-love.
Yeah.
Especially like living in a country that has like for so long like done so many things to like your body, to your mental, emotional capacity. And then like for example, like I would say it's one of our generational curses, like my mom not knowing how to love herself, or like my dad not knowing how to love himself. When you're living in like financial struggles, or like you just don't have any generational wealth, so it's like life isn't as easy. And so when you're focused on the external, a lot of the internal gets forgotten about. Like especially when you're living in scarcity, we've all been in like little moments where it's like I have to worry about life. Like I don't come first because like my needs need to come first, or my kids need to come first.
Yeah.
And so we never really learned those tools. And so when I realized that like the act of self-love, and to me, and everybody's self-love is different. That's why it's good to know your love languages.
Yeah.
So how you receive love is different, and I'm also acts of service. So like if you're acts of service, so one of the things that I do for myself before I go to bed, I light candles to like fill my room up with like a really good smell, like while I'm taking a shower. So the candle will be running for 20 minutes. I have a towel warmer, so, and then I have like this like concoction of like coconut oil, vitamin E oil, and lavender oil that I heat up right before I get in the shower. So that way I use that as like a lotion.
Damn.
So like I have like, like I
You're
treat
cooking.
myself, right. Like I treat myself well with acts of service. And I just didn't realize, like, I think I wanted someone else to do it for me so bad, but I was like, but you don't even know how to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And I felt like I unlocked like some sort of secret treasure, or like some sort of secret code that so many family members and community members in my life didn't have. And I was like, I need to share as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's so epic. So I read that book probably 3 or 4 years ago, and was just like, it like opened up my eyes to like how people love, how we accept love, how we give love. And I've never thought about it as in, hey, if this is my love language, that's also the same language that I could love myself. And because I'm literally now thinking about my life, it's like, wait a second, like I do feel good. Like I think mine's a little acts of service as well. And it's like, I do feel better when I like am on a right schedule, doing like, it sounds silly, but like when everything is in order, when my place is clean, like clean space, clean mind, like I feel so much better. And I've always thought about in a partner, thinking about, and I say this because I grew up, my mom is a legend, like such a legend. And we're going to get to your mom too, but like my mom would do all those things, like everything. She was always there, no matter what it was, like playing sports growing up, like jerseys, bag pack, like whatever it was, like my mom hooked it up.
So shout out, mom.
Yeah.
Give her flowers.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's how I learned to be loved. And that's something that I'm so interested in learning about you, is the way that you've learned to be loved. You've learned to love yourself, because of the love that you pour out there. I mean, I can't wait for people, to check out your content after this, because it's epic. I mean, it's just it is love. Like it's constant love. But so we got to your content creation, like the idea behind it, but like in practice, what did it look like? Where did you start? I know I mentioned you here, say on another podcast, that, there's even certain people in your circle, like, it's like, all right, Nicole, like, what are you doing? Or like second guessing, but you clearly knew what you wanted to do and you did it. But how did it start?
Yeah, my content journey, or specifically affirmations?
The content journey in general.
Yeah, so I would say, how did my content journey start? For me, it was during the pandemic.
Okay.
When I said I was in real estate kind of halted during the
Yeah.
pandemic. I don't know if you guys remember, but you couldn't even sell houses. And I was someone I'm a landlord, and so I was also flipping houses at the time with my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he's a contractor. And so all of our income was into like flipping and houses. So we had one last flip where we made a lot of money. So we were good for the whole year, but we didn't know that it was going to shut down.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? So it was like a blessing and a curse. But so when real estate shut down and we weren't able to flip anymore because the real estate market just went crazy and it was unaffordable to flip, I had an opportunity to discover a different way to make money. And I had like money from the last flip that we did, where I was like, okay, I have like 10 months of reserves to really figure this out. And plus, like, everybody was getting PPP and like stimulus checks. And so that was actually really helpful as well to kind of keep things going. And I realized I wanted to do content. And so I was doing Zoom interviews with people on my podcast. So I don't know if those interviews are still up. I think they might be. But I was like, okay, I want to do content. I love Lewis House, who's my favorite podcaster of all time, and Jay Shetty. And I just loved listening to them, and they actually changed my life because they changed my mindset. And so when my mindset was shifting, my emotional health and like my mental health was shifting, and it was a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to give. Like once like I receive something, I just want to give it back to people. And I was like, okay, I want to do my own podcast. And I was interviewing people on Zoom. I had Michael Graham. He's a fashion designer, Brandy Harvey. I was getting like some really cool names on the Zoom. And what I didn't realize at the time was I was being mentored by these people. Like they were giving me their 30 minutes or their 45 minutes or however long, and they were teaching me and they were pouring into me. And one of the things that Michael Graham was saying, and he's in Vogue, like Zendaya wears his stuff, he's 40, and he sources his things from a colony like in the islands in the Caribbean, in Mexico and some of the islands and stuff, and he's really intentional about his work. And he told me about slow magic, the art of going at your own pace and taking your time as a creative person. He said there's like a special place for people who can like really go slowly and intentionally. And that stuck with me because I think I was like running in the rat race and I just wanted to get there. Wanted to get there. But for him, it was like more about planting yourself in the journey and just relaxing. And that really helped a lot. And then I had Delroy Lindo on the podcast as well. I was interviewing him for what my mom does. She does the Girlfriend Getaway. And that really, like, getting a name that big 3 months into my podcast journey, 3 months, you know? I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be a content creator. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening. And then at some point in my content journey, I was doing the interviews, but I didn't feel like it was enough. Like I felt like something was missing. And I think it was just like a piece of me that was missing. Like, what am I doing? Like, who am I speaking to? And I was just asking myself these types of questions, and what type of impact am I having? So did I want to have a financial impact? I was leaning into mental health, but were people really grabbing what I was trying to get them to say? And then so as I was just like figuring out myself and like what I wanted to bring, I was growing as a person along my content journey,
Yeah.
which is interesting. And like I was in therapy, I went through a breakup. And so I was going through this spiritual journey. And, you know, in that journey, my self-confidence, I would say like needed help.
Yeah.
And that's when I got into therapy. And my therapist is like, look, you can just say affirmations to yourself. And then once I started doing that, I was like, oh my God, my community needs this. Like Black people, we need self-confidence boosters. Like we need that push. We need that. Mental health is just like a huge stigma in our community. And so I was like, all right, let me do these affirmations for Black women and do these affirmations for Black men. I want them to know that they're my audience. I want them to know like that I'm specifically doing this for them. And then the Black women affirmations were hitting like 2,000 views, and then the Black male affirmations were hitting like 200,000, 20,000, 400,000. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's working.
What is happening? And like at first I was like excited, like this is so crazy. But then I started reading the comments. Like some people were like, I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
Like you don't understand how much I needed this. And there's a huge void and lack of love that they felt. And then I realized that all my energy needs to go towards this community because they just needed it more.
Yeah. There's something that guys, and this is what I'm learning as I do this, there's something about like a lot of these videos. It's like I think men are really struggling in their heads more than anybody ever wants to talk about or has space to talk about. And there's things that through the 7 episodes I've recorded so far, I'm like, I made a post the other day. I'm like, we're all struggling with so many of the same issues in different ways or trying different things. Like, but I think that men secretly like geek out on a lot of this stuff. Like there's guys that are watching motivational videos all the time. It's part of their like daily routine is to get that motivation from outside sources, which I'm with you. I mean, I've done the same thing. It's interesting what you were saying earlier about listening to podcasts as you were going through that self-discovery journey. It's the same thing that I did. And that's why I then started doing this, because in COVID, I would go to Valley Forge and I would hike. I would turn my phone, or I would download episodes. I'd turn my phone on airplane mode and I would go on like 10, 12 mile hikes and just get lost. And I would listen to 3-hour podcasts, 4-hour podcasts. And I would just, it was healing to me. And it was not only healing, but now in retrospect, I also think that it was growing at the same time. Like I was healing old wounds, but I was like all these other things that were like starting to spark. And like what is happening right now with what I'm doing is stuff that I was learning at that point. It took a couple of years for it to get, come to fruition. But it's so nice that you took that in and then realized that quickly, like, I got something and I can really help people. Cause the comments, and I was actually gonna, in preparing for this, I was gonna read a couple, but they're honestly so intense and they're so meaningful that like, I didn't even know if it was like okay to bring up, because you're changing people's lives. And as we mentioned about, the subscribers now to be able to monetize and to keep doing what you're doing. Cause obviously, as you were asking me before, it's like, what's the plan? I'm like, still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but like to be able to, I felt when I started this, and still I'm working through this, I felt very wrong to monetize people's personal stories or this kind of stuff in any way. But what I've realized, and somebody said to me, they're like, you're helping people. Like, does your therapist get paid? Yes. Like it's not a bad thing. You need that energy that is green dollars to come in so that you can keep giving this energy out.
You literally need it. You can't keep going without it, and we want you to. And I think that there's people who want to invest in you, and there's partnerships that are aligned, and there's resources out there for people like us. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like we were saying before, it's, it's all going to come together in time. But tell me about your mom, because I was, as we're talking about with your initial content journey, it was funny going back and listening to your first interview with your mom, where it was like you said, like kind of like during COVID. And I was like, damn, like I could see even the limited, conversations we've had, like I could see how much you grew from that point to this point. And to start off an episode with your mom is so epic. And the love that, and it was cool because I watched it on video, that I could see the love that you guys had for each other in each other's eyes, and the way that, you told her directly what she meant to you. I mean, her face lit up and I could feel it. So please tell me about your mom, because she sounds epic.
Yeah, I love her so much, man. Oh, thank you so much for doing your research and looking at my old videos. I'm like, what? My mom, man, she's like superwoman, and she's such a like pillar in my community and for so many people. She's a minister, she's a pastor. She's the reason why I'm probably so community oriented, and she goes hard for others, and I'm so grateful for her. Like, I would say, like, she's my role model.
Yeah.
I don't know if she would ever think that she is, but she totally is. Like, she has this program called At the Well conferences that she started, I think, 14 or 15 years ago. She went to Princeton Theological Seminary, and the program is at Princeton University. And for 2 weeks, we just ended it actually a couple weeks ago. For 2 weeks, they bring in young girls for leadership programs, and they pour into them in high school and give them like writing skills and SAT prep. And so she did this 15 years ago because that's what I needed. And so she'll bring young Black girls from all over the country into Princeton campus and pour into them. And they stay on campus and get this crazy experience. And they'll have speakers. Like, we had the Kojos, we had Brandy and Carly Harvey, and like some really Delaware was there. That's how I know these people, because through my mom's program. And like, so I think she's had like over 1,000 girls come through, which is insane. So she's changed, and like every girl that's come through said that program impacted their life significantly, and they still have relationships from that program.
Yeah.
And so she did that based off of the need, where she saw me. I was in a private school where I was the only African American girl in my whole class. And so she saw that I needed to be in community with other girls that looked like me. And then so she created a whole program around it.
That's awesome.
It's insane.
That's awesome. There's something too that seeing it and feeling it and knowing that it's possible. So like a little bit about my background, I played lacrosse my entire life. And this reminds me of going onto college campuses at tournaments, and the college, D1 coaches would come and speak to you and tell you like, oh, like we'd be in like 8th grade and they'd be like, oh no, like you can be here one day. And like, I remember that exact team that I was with. We were up at Penn State. The coach at Penn State was talking to us, and then like 3 of the kids on that team ended up playing at Penn State. But it's like you feel that it's possible when you're there, when you're in the dorms, and when you see that. And from an education standpoint, and to be in that kind of community, it's like, something that I'm trying to learn as a white kid. I grew up in a pretty rural Pennsylvania like town. Like, there's not exposure to diversity. There's not, and that's something that I tell my mom, like, I need to be in Philly. Like, I feel like I'm learning at every turn. Like, it literally breaks my heart, but it's reality that you have to face. Like, there's people homeless and they're sleeping on the vents, and like, that's real. Like, I went home for Christmas, like last year or something like that. And I walked into a cafe. We had breakfast, and there was not one, every single person was white. And it just like hit me. I was like, oh wait, I grew up like this. Like, this is not, how it really is. So that's another reason why I'm just like, I want to have these conversations to like understand, because you mentioned that, growing up, you went to a school where you were the only Black girl. Like, how does that feel? Like, what is that? Like, I know you've, in some of the other videos you mentioned, like, you saw yourself the way that the teacher saw you. And that like hit me. I was like, what? Like, that sucks. Like, that's so shitty. And how did those feelings develop as a child, and how did you kind of like, as you've come into your own, how do you reflect on those experiences?
Yeah, thank you. Man, you really dove deep in my archives.
I try. I mean, like I said, I'm so grateful that you're, the people that come in here and open up, that I try to, give it everything I got to shine a light on all the things that you do.
Thank you. How did it feel? I think, like I said in another interview, I think it felt like, again, like seeing myself through the eyes, because I was boarding school, so I was there 24/7. At least like when you go to public school or a different private school, and you get to go home and be with your family. And so it felt like there was something wrong with me, because everybody around me was communicating that, and not necessarily with their words all the time, which they were with their words. Like, I was perceived as not as smart as a lot of my classmates. And so sometimes with their words, but with their actions, like I felt like I was looked at through a hyper lens, or I was like always being watched as if like something I was doing was bad. So like whether it was like the dress code, where like a lot of the other kids would get like dress code violations, like they would do them all the time. And if I did like one little thing, it would be like microscopic. So like I felt like I was just very microscopically like watched, and almost as if like I was inherently about to do something wrong, or something was wrong with me. And then so I carried that into like from 13. So I went started boarding school when I was 13 into like college, where I felt like I had to overcompensate to make other people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong here. Like you're safe. Like I'm not a bad kid, or I'm not a bad person. And I felt like I ended up being a people pleaser.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the opposite spectrum of that, where it's like people are trying to perceive me as like I'm, you know what I mean, on doing something wrong, and I'm gonna prove to them that like I'm a good person, and I'm gonna over prove that to them. And so I would get like walked over a lot, in terms of like not getting my own needs met in friendships or relationships, or maybe in the classroom. And so as an adult, I've had to unpack that and realize that my needs are important, and I meet my needs now, you
Yeah.
know, and I've definitely probably still have some more to unpack with that, but you know, I appreciate my journey,
Yeah.
because I had to come to myself. Like, you know, like even though those are my experiences, there was a journey where I had to like walk and come back to myself and see myself for who I am through my own perception, through my own lens. And I feel really powerful now.
Yeah. That's thinking about the way that you also like subconsciously were or you were consciously picking these things up, but you were picking up other people's subconscious actions or things that they said. Like I'm sure, this is how I felt as a child, like a hyper sense of awareness of taking all of this data and information in, and then trying to be like fit into a certain, like I call it the mask, or like whatever, like, okay, well I got to be like this because this is how I'm supposed to be, or this is how I'm seen, or this is what I'm supposed to be. And that's something that I think many people deal with in different, ways. But
like I have to be compensating.
Yeah.
I have to overcompensate,
Yeah.
And then that puts you in a dangerous place of like putting everybody's needs above your own and abandoning yourself.
Yeah.
And then it's like, those aren't authentic friendships. Those aren't authentic relationships. And there's like a dark side to people pleasing, because like, I think in my personal opinion, people pleasing is even manipulating, right? Because you're trying to get someone to like you. You're trying to manipulate their perception of you. This person has a negative perception of me. I need to manipulate that by people pleasing and giving them what I think that they need. And nobody's winning in that situation, like that's just not an authentic friendship.
And it's a survival response at that young age, is like what I've learned for myself. Is like it's so nice to be able to unpack them now, but like at that time it's like, what else are you gonna do? You have to be liked because you need to survive. Like it's a very primal response, and we're not actively thinking about it at that young age. But that's something that from your content that I picked up, because again, I've been able to learn a lot about Black culture, especially Black men, what Black men deal with from your content. And it's like you said, like they had to create so much of their own safety and bubble or persona and all these things that like just on like I don't think that I was conscious of that kind of thing before being exposed to the way that I don't know, all of these things. Like every single video that you put out, I'm learning something new about your culture and like what that means, and it applies across the board. I think that people, like I said, everyone struggles in different ways, but it's definitely been fascinating. So thank you for, I don't know, just everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I'm trying my best. Yeah, I'm trying my best to communicate understanding through love.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I think it can resonate with you, even though you're not a Black person or you're not a Black man.
Yeah.
But it's like still teaching you something, about Black men or Black women and like what we go through. And I feel like every human being definitely has their hero's journey, to your own situation and to your own environment. But I think for Black people living in America, our journey is redefining the perception of ourselves, being raised in a world that wants to define the perception for us.
Yeah.
And it's so hard, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah. And there's so much history there. So like on,
Mm-hmm.
I forget which episode it was, but I had Frank Jackson, who was a positive psychologist from Penn. And he was like he said one of just a few Black men that were in the psychology program at Penn at all, or just like that exist in the entire country. And what he wrote his thesis on was called The Pearl Effect. And it was about all the things that Black people, like just even talking about slavery, like the Black church, like all of these different things that have had effects on Black people over the years. Mm-hmm. And it's like, holy shit. It's like, when you think about it, this, like the way that you're saying, like things have lived within your body and generational. There's so much, like we're all unpacking generations above shit that they didn't deal with. Yeah. Is how I feel about it.
Yeah. Like for example, like my mom, forgets herself, you know, like she normalizes forgetting herself, because I would say my grandmother had 8 kids and she had to normalize forgetting herself. And then her grandmother, who was Native American and like, married like a freed Black man, but he also was raised in like a plantation.
Yeah.
And so like, you can't consider yourself on a plantation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not allowed to. And then like their parents and then their parents, like you're not human at that point, right? To like, you're not treated as human. You're not allowed to live as human. And so you're teaching that programming to your children, who are teaching that programming to their children, who teach it to us.
Yeah.
And so like, when we try to break out of like that mental conditioning and we tell ourselves like we can prioritize and love ourselves and create new perceptions and new worlds, and we don't have to exist like the past.
Yeah. It's
so hard to do because so many other people haven't caught on to it. And then it's like we're everything is programming. Like the internet is programming, the TV is programming, your family is programming. And so if everything is trying to program you and you're like, no, I want to program myself. I can do this. I got this. But even to get to that conclusion that you are able to do that is like a hard seed within itself. And then to know that, you know, there are patterns and cycles that you have to break. Like, who's telling you that? There's nobody out here doing that.
Yeah. And there's things like that. What I am fascinated with I've been reading The Body Keeps the Score and just learning about how trauma lives in people's body. It's like, this stuff's hardwired too.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that's, in there. And one of the things that Frank, like, it literally just like shocked me. And it was something I never thought of. Like he talked about like in slavery, like people would just be separated from their families. Like you would just arrive on a farm and just be like separated from your kids and your wife and where you can. And I'm like, wait, like that's so disconnecting. Talking about like, you're just pretty much slicing. Like there's no way you can keep in touch with each other or do anything. Like you're just slicing an entire heritage and family life and all that stuff, and like restarting from a terrible programming and like,
and your body is not yours.
So
how you take care of your body, in my opinion, matters.
Yeah.
You know, and like even now, like I used to not be gentle with myself. Like I used to brush my hair like aggressively, like just like a simple like, or wash my face aggressively. And I had to raise my consciousness and be like, hey, be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're worthy of like being gentle with yourself. Like be soft, like take your time. And that was like, oh yeah, like, you know, like I'm worthy of gentleness.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's crazy.
That's something that you have to like consciously kind of like create for yourself
and unpack.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump around here a little bit from the plan, but what are ways that you deal with your own mental health? And especially with the body, like yoga, meditation, therapy, like what are the ways that you handle everything that goes on in your head?
Yeah, I think that being conscious of your energy is really important. So consciousness of when you feel yourself getting to a low place. And so it's a wave, you know, it's like an ebb and flow. So I think of waves when I think of energetic, emotional, mental health and patterns. And so throughout the entire day, like my emotions can shift and change. And so I have an understanding that there are things that I can do to raise my vibration. And so this is actually a daily practice.
Yeah.
So like throughout the day, I try to help myself and bring myself to a higher vibration. So the things that help me do that are food. Food can help you raise to a higher vibration. I had a fresh juice today when I came in and I walked in. And dancing helps lift my vibration, even though I feel like I'm not the best dancer, but it's all about releasing that energy.
Yeah.
And music, like I find that particular music can raise my vibration, but the consciousness of knowing that I'm sinking. Okay, I'm sinking right now. And then what
like sinking as in SY or sinking as in like,
emotionally, like I'm coming to a place where I feel low.
Okay.
And being conscious of that.
Yeah.
And then being like, what can I do to lift myself up? And sometimes it's just water.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm dehydrated.
Yeah, it's like little things.
Like, you know what I mean? And then sometimes it's like, okay, maybe I need to call a friend. You know, this friend I know I can lean on and have a conversation. Or meditation, breath work, or even going outside. Let me put my face to the sun.
Yeah.
You know, that all of those little things, like knowing your recipe, like writing down, even lighting a candle, writing down what are the things that I can do, the habits that I can have that raise my vibration, and how can I stay conscious of when I do sink, and how to, and like knowing when it's happening so I can lift it back up.
Yeah.
That's been helping me.
To be aware. That's awesome. And there's something to be said for the awareness of knowing when things are going south. And like, I think that's the first step. And then what I'm recently realizing, because I've gone on a roller coaster of a journey, like doing great, doing well, and then really like nosediving. And when I'm nosediving, sometimes I'll be aware of that. Like I'll be laying on the couch. I'll get a call from one of my good friends, especially my cousin Jack, who did an episode. He'll call me and I'll be like, I'm so down that I don't want to show anybody how down I am. And I don't want to, because I didn't do all the little things. I didn't drink enough water. I'm not eating healthy. I don't know if I've ever eaten really all that healthy.
Didn't take your vitamins.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the little things didn't, like sometimes when I get out of here, it'll be 2 p.m. and I'm like, all right, like I got outside at 2 p.m. for the first time today. Like, no, duh, I'm like down. Like, like of course, you know,
you just walk around the block.
Like, even,
you know,
there's a little park right down the street. And I'm like, recently I was telling Max, I was like, been setting my alarm for 6 a.m. I've been getting up earlier. I've been not looking at my phone. Then I've been sitting and reading a book and just having that time to yourself. But it's, I'm trying to find my recipe.
Yes.
Like,
and gratitude. That insanely helps me. Like looking in the mirror and being like, look, like last year, where I am from last year to this year, the growth, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. The food, my bed, my couch, like I start listing out the things I'm grateful for. My sight, I could taste, I could touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and then if this is the ground level of everything I'm capable of and where I'm at in this life, from here is my jump off point as a human being.
Yeah.
I'm killing it.
Tell me more about that, because I think that men, this is an assumption, but I think that men struggle with that more. Like I still don't think I'm doing enough. Like I feel like there's an eternal like nonstop, like you need to do more. And I think that I'm reading all these like philosophy books trying to learn about like, where is all this stuff coming from? It's like, you know, women are needed to reproduce, and like obviously men are needed too, but like one woman can, you know, reproduce. Again, this goes back to like hundreds of thousands of years ago. Like men aren't as needed.
Well, your value is in your provision, right? Or like your assumed value is in how much you can provide for society or like for the woman in your life.
Yeah.
And so when you have to, when your value is tied to that, that's conditional. So I can absolutely see how it could be harder for men to kind of feel grateful for the present moment. But I just like, I bring it down. I try to like, I zoom myself out. So like I kind of feel I'm a little sim right now. Like we're in this apartment, but we're in Philly. And if we zoom out, we're in America. If we zoom out even more, we're in this huge world. And I try to like zoom it out into space. And I'm like, wow, I am so small. I'm a speck. This is a speck. This is a moment. And so if I zoom myself out and I really think about the global population, and I think about the world, and I think about who I am and my opportunities and what I have, maybe, everybody sitting in this room, we might be 5% of the world, like in terms of like,
Yeah.
like what we have right now. And like, God is so good. Like, he didn't have to give us our family. He didn't have to show us love in this life, and all the things. Like, I really just like sit down and I list what I'm grateful for, and I journal about it. I write it down. And if all the little things add up, it adds up. Because if we didn't have these things, if we couldn't walk, like where would we be at mentally? And like, even some of those people who don't have legs, I've seen are the highest energetic, thankful, the most grateful people in the world,
Yeah.
So it's all about just shifting your perspective. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but even 10 minutes a day of looking yourself in the mirror, just every day of listing out what you're grateful for, in 10 days, it'll change your life.
Yeah. And it is very like stack on top of each other, step by step, I feel like. What I was saying that my mom always says, I complained I had no shoes till I met the man that had no feet. And like that level of like, whoa, wait, I can walk. And that's something that I haven't been grateful for enough lately. Like I did during COVID, I got really heavy into running, and Headspace has a running meditation, and like 2 minutes in.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. They have like some Nike trainers that come in, and they'll like, and you could sync it with Spotify. So you can be listening to your music, and then it'll sync out the music, or like it'll fade out the music, and the voice will come in, and it'll say like, think about the fact that you're moving right now. You're running, like you feel differently. Like there's people that don't feel, like there's people who can't run. There's people who can't do this physically, whether they have, again, like no matter what their situation is. And I would always think about my grandmother, who, rest in peace, she's a legend looking down on us right now. But she wasn't able, like for the last 5-6 years of her life, like she wasn't really able to walk. And I always thought about her when I was running, when that thing came in, and I was like, wait, like I'm doing something that she can no longer do in her life. And that's like, it again, like as you said, perspective, like put it in to my head. I was like, whoa. Like, and there's things like that we're doing all the time, whether it's writing, whether it's talking, whether it's doing this, like in this moment, I'm feeling even more grateful for the fact that we can do this, that technology allows us to do this, that the world allows us to do this, that where we met allows us to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
and that really lifts me up. Like when I'm like, yo, I'm feeling low. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, let's bring it back.
Yeah. And that's like, I was so excited to see you today, because like when we did meet, your energy fills up a room, and there's a
so does yours. What a compliment.
Yeah. I'm like, and that's why, honestly, like when I am struggling, like that's something, like I have a friend who, he wasn't giving me a hard time, but he was like being a little bit critical. He's like, dude, like you have to take care of yourself. Like you have a voice and a mission that people need to hear. And if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're letting those people down. Like that's like really heavy for me to like process, especially as I'm not doing so great. But it's true. It's like, I do have this ability, and this can be me every day, the way that I feel today. And it does make an impact.
And I think it's important to stabilize ourselves before we enter relationships.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Go ahead on that.
Like I've learned, like I was just talking about this with my friend yesterday. They were like, why aren't you dating anybody right now? And I'm like, because I want to have, out of the last 30 days I had this past month, I want to have like 20 good days. Like I want to stack up percentage wise. I want to be on my 80%, my 85% game before I bring someone into my life. Because when you love someone and you're having a bad day, sometimes it becomes their bad day. And their day becomes your bad day. And if I can emotionally stabilize myself and know what it takes to, and learn myself and know what it takes to bring myself back to my center. I think of it as like a pendulum as well. Like, so sometimes, like maybe last year I would be left and then to the right, like super happy, super low, and now I just want to I want that pendulum to almost look like it's not moving. It's centered. I want to feel centered. I want to feel balanced. But it's up to me to feel that. No one's going to come into my life and balance my life. It's only going to magnify when you have a really close, intimate relationship with someone. It's going to magnify the things that you should be working on. So like, I want to feel really leveled, really balanced. So that way when someone does enter, and like, I know how to love myself really well now they get the benefit of that when I'm paying attention to them. When I'm being intentional with them. When I do my candles and when I do the bath, the bath heater, you know, and then I do my towel heater, and I do all these little things for myself. They get the benefit of that person.
Yeah.
And
And stability is
crazy.
key. I think that especially with men, there's conversations that I've had lately where it's like, dude, like a woman, like obviously can do all of that for herself in general, but like this actually probably goes both ways. It's not even just men and women, but like people need stability. You need to trust that your partner is going to be a certain way, is going to show up a certain way. And yes, when they're at their worst and when they're at their best, like that's going to happen too.
Absolutely.
But consistent stability is key. And that's something like everything that I do here always feels like a therapy session for me because I'm like actively going through stuff, but like I've admittedly been unstable. So like that's something where it's again, like expecting that out of yourself versus expecting other people to do that, because it's so much easier to expect somebody else to do that. And I think that there's probably a lot of men out there that do that too.
And I think you should know your patterns. So
yeah,
for me, I find like once a month, maybe for 4 or 5 days, I feel super low. And so I actually started studying myself like a science experiment. And so I have a calendar, and then I have little emojis like, okay, and I'll have like, it's like a huge whiteboard. Okay, this day I felt good, down, good, down. Like, you know, I track it.
yeah,
I track my emotional health, and I see what I did that day. How many days did I work out? Was I taking my vitamins? Was my water intake good? And then now I know that there's a science to me.
yeah,
I know my science. And then so now I can explain when I enter into a relationship, I can explain it to someone else.
yeah,
I can communicate that because I know myself. So for you, and you're saying like you've had like the lows and downs and the ups and downs, studying you and studying the weeks of the month and taking it into those 30 days and being like, okay, how many of those days was low or high or medium or balanced, and then why? And then refining, and then always refining month by month, and knowing what you need to do to have a better month.
Yeah.
Game changer.
That's awesome. And like, similarly, and this is again, something that I used to do that I need to get back to, but I had in an Excel sheet, the 10 things that make me happy. And if I did 7 or 8 of them, like I usually had a good day.
Wow.
But I think that that's, like you said, something that, you know, you need to do to be able to know yourself. But when did you start that? And where did that idea come from? Is that something that you heard, or something that you just realized like, all right, wait, I'm doing these things. They make me happy. Doing these things, they don't make me happy. I need to keep track.
There's a block, something called like a block calendar that I bought on Amazon.
Okay.
And it had the emojis on it, and then it had the water take. It was like amazing. It was like a schedule for what you ate, if you worked out, for the task that you wanted to get done in the day. It had bullet points if you list down all the 20 things that you needed to do for the day. And then it told you to prioritize like 3 top things. Like, and then so you knew what your top things were, and then you knew how you felt, and then you knew what you ate. And so I didn't even know it, but as I was doing it, I started noticing my patterns. And I was like, oh, wow, like I really am that simple. Like it really is that easy.
Yeah.
I really need to do these things.
What's the number one? Because I think everybody's different. What's the number one thing for you? Like the number one where it's like, all right, this is my, you know, core, like this is the biggest piece of the pie for you and your happiness.
It's water intake. I've noticed.
It's so simple.
I've noticed that if I did not drink enough water for the day, and I didn't even realize it until I started filling out this form, but if I did not drink enough water for the day, it affects my mind. So however, our bodies are mostly water, which I didn't like. This is all crazy science. And then the water that goes to your brain, it circulates in the brain, the blood, your blood flow. So if you are dehydrated, it actually heavily affects your mood. And there's a science behind it, but I didn't realize that until I started clocking my own water intake levels. So if I have less than 6 glasses of water that day, I'm going to feel low. Like I'm literally going to feel it.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
That's interesting.
It's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like that's the funny thing. Like they're so simple. Like you said, with even just getting outside, like there's these things that now I'm gonna after this I'm gonna be writing all these things down. Like just like all right, just like focus on like 3 things, like getting outside, water.
I'm going to send you the calendar that I use as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So you can,
we'll link it too
yeah.
for anybody who wants to check it out.
Amazon affiliate.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we'll look it up. So doing all those things obviously prepares you again to be energetically you and to be able to help others. And that's something that I've been fascinated with your content is the consistency. So you've been posting, what is it, every day? Have you missed?
I didn't post yesterday.
I
did miss a day.
Is that the first day?
Yeah, it's first day in a couple months that I've missed. But because I just sometimes like if I have too much going on, like I'm going to events.
Yeah.
But I also do try to challenge myself. Like I could bulk record the content.
Yeah.
But I don't like to do that because I like to challenge myself. I want to make it a habit.
Yeah.
Because habits are powerful when they're done over long periods of time and you can stay consistent, rain or shine. And so like even with the water intake, with the vitamin intake, with like dancing, with the meditation, with the working out, like that daily, the habit of the affirmations for Black men every single day, no matter what's happening in my life, has made me such a more powerful person.
Yeah. And that's something I've learned just creating any kind of content, even just posting, even if you did bulk record it, just posting and opening up the app and writing the caption and doing all that stuff. Like it's so much harder. And like the fact that you've missed a couple of days out of 300, how many? Like
323. 323
congrats.
days.
Like that's so crazy. That's like literally I have the note cards. Consistency as a creator. You're insane. Like to be able to do that that consistently. And there's people out there that there's another guy actually in Philly. His name's Joe Rinaldi. We'll tag him as well. But he's like he's run 1 mile every day for I think like almost like I don't know 300, 400 days or something like that. To do anything every single day that consistently, even if you miss a couple of days, like
it's Atomic Habits. Have you ever read the book?
I haven't. Everybody keeps telling me.
Insane book.
Yeah.
It's the consistently showing up every single day, just one thing. It is like it's a type of, it's like a atomic level impact on your life. Like with working out, that's why you're in lacrosse, right? Yeah. With people who have a discipline to do something every single day, you're a better entrepreneur, you're a better partner, you're a better friend. And it just makes your mind stronger. And like people think like, wow, that's so crazy. It's so hard. But after 21 days, you've built that habit. It's not hard anymore. Yeah. Like it's almost like it's what's hard for other people because like they're not reliant on habits it becomes easy for me. Yeah. Like when you work out every single day, it's just like, oh, I'm just brushing my teeth. It's just like me brushing my teeth every day. I don't even think about it.
Like you said earlier, you're just programming.
Yeah, I'm programming myself.
Reprogramming yourself to be able to do that and make it easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes 3 weeks to build it and then it's not even a thought anymore.
Yeah. That's funny. One of the things I think for guys that again, I used to do, need to get back to, but was push-ups. And that's something that like, again, to feel strong as a man, like these are all things that I think are starting to come back where it's like, yes, we need to be empathetic. We need to be all these things, but like also like there's something to being a guy that like you want to feel strong. You want to feel powerful. That's just like a natural animal thing. And so like I would do 10 push-ups. This is during COVID when I don't even think I could do the 10 push-ups, but I would focus on every single day, 10 push-ups, then 15, 20, 25. And then by the time that you do 100 push-ups every single day I did it for months and months.
Wow. It
was easy, but now then getting back into it, it's like, oh my God, this is so hard. I can't even do 25. It's like, to be able to have that, I think is another thing for guys, like a core thing. Just like you said, the water intake, one of those like, things that you could focus on.
And guys, don't stress yourself out trying to give yourself a bunch of habits. Like for me, I'll pick up a new habit a week and then sometimes I'll try to let go of habits. So like the habit of scrolling my phone. Yeah. I'll try to that's a conditioning. I'll try to let go of a habit. If a habit of drinking, right? I'll try to let go of that habit. So sometimes always taking in a new habit could be stopping an old habit as well. And so I'll give myself 30 days and I'll do one habit at a time. So I'm not trying to like brush on everything. So whatever is the most important to me. I stopped drinking coffee for a little bit. Yeah. I was like, I have this habit of drinking coffee. I love coffee. But also I feel like I can be the energy without it. Like I want to challenge myself to just like, I feel like coffee masks me and it's different for everybody. But when I'm drinking coffee, it's almost like a fake upper. And I'm like, if I'm feeling low, how can I bring my body's trying to tell me something. Yeah. And I'm drinking this coffee to mask this feeling. how about this? How about I have a vitamin? Or how about I drink a juice? Or how about I dance? How about I learn to really stay in tune? Like, I feel like we as humans, we try to run away from feeling ourselves.
Yeah.
We try to mask from feeling the lowness. And it's like that's just information. Your body's just trying to like tell you what you need, and you're ignoring it, and you're just trying to like get a quick fix.
Yeah. The
Like,
body knows.
yeah.
That's the thing. That's what I keep learning too. Like the body knows that pit in your stomach when something's not right, that feeling of energy when something is good.
Yes.
Like we can be aware. And I'm with you on the coffee thing. And I love coffee.
We try to run away. I think in this generation, we try to run away from feeling bad, or we try to run away from like feeling uncomfortable, or feeling the things we don't want to feel. Like, I don't want to feel this right now. And what I've learned about myself is like, all of that is good for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning myself. Like, I don't want to feel comfortable in situations where I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to feel good if my body's feeling bad. I want to know.
Yeah, you're trying to pick up the signals.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What's something that makes you uncomfortable that you've accepted or tried to explore? Like something that, whether it's a fear of doing a certain thing, but like, again, like I think I've written this before, but like change isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to feel this way. Like this way that I've been talking about feeling recently, like I am very aware that like on this journey that I'm on, it's supposed to be this way. And like, I've been feeling it a lot, but like it, you know, you're supposed to be uncomfortable in certain ways because that's the body and the world telling you like, we got some stuff to tell you.
Well, the affirmations for Black men, at first when I was doing it, I felt really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I knew, I was like, this audience needs me. But I know that once I start niching into this audience, I'm going to get so much hate, you know, for being like a pick me, or like catering to men as a woman in this culture where it's like a man eater culture. You know, I was like, oh, this is so weird and uncomfortable for me to just do affirmations for Black men every day. Like, people are going to think that I'm just like trying to be that girl that's like, what's the word? Just like wants a man or is like desperate. And so that was like super uncomfortable, but I knew my heart and I knew why. I mean, I knew my why, I knew my mission. And so I had to just do it every day and walk in that discomfort and just be me, no matter who or what anybody thought about it. And I was like, okay. And now I do it every day, and it's nothing. I'm not in that discomfort anymore. And I'm in this like place of like real feeling and like love. And like, what's interesting about it too is why I love doing it is I actually have to be in a place of love for myself, and I have to be in a place of calm for myself. So before I say my affirmations, I'm calling in peace. I'm calling in acceptance. I'm calling in good energy for Nicole, so I could transmute it.
Do you have any kind of routine before you record, or any kind of like, that's in part why I wear this every single time. It's like my like armor or shield of like, how am I getting ready for this? How am I getting ready for what I'm going to do? Like, do you have any kind of, do you say affirmations to yourself beforehand?
I just dance a little bit beforehand. I'll listen to music. I'm listening to Free Soul right now. It's FR with three. So
okay.
Free Soul, SOL. And I'll meditate. So I have breathwork practices. So breathwork really brings me into a more soothing and calm place. And then I will, because I have to get ready. I have to put on my makeup and do my hair. So I'll like have that little routine, you know, pet my dog. But it created what's so beautiful. And like, we literally had this whole conversation of like, how do we call ourselves back to our center? I became conscious of that because I could not say affirmations to Black men angry, anxious, or depressed. So the act of doing an affirmation every day for other people forced me to call in peace and to call in affirmation and to call in love for Nicole.
So it starts with you, because that's something I think that I especially want to highlight here, is that like, it doesn't get seen in the content, is that because of the consistency, not only in the posting, but like you're saying, the energy that you bring to the posts, there's a lot of work beforehand. So it's like, Nicole, and what you're doing, it's not just the clip. there's so much more around it.
Yes.
That this is again the exciting part of like I like to bring out, because when you're scrolling on Instagram, you may not realize like there's a lot more that just went into this than the words, and there's a lot in the words. Like,
yeah. But it's so beautiful because nothing ever forced me to call in my own peace before. And it was loving other people, the intention of loving other people, that created more space for me.
Interesting. So do you feel like it's an anchor for you now in your life, like where you're, again, serving your purpose, serving, you know, I do, and I've become more religious, but like serving God, like serving, like doing what you're here to do. Is that something that is, I don't know if grounded is the right word, but something that has kept you, like, again, as we talked about stability, something that you've actively thought of, like, all right, this is, you know, grounding. Yeah.
Yeah. I think all of those things, like, I've never seen any woman in my family intentionally call in peace for themselves.
Yeah.
I've never even seen any man do it. I've never seen anybody be conscious of it. So it's so beautiful that, like, you know, people think like, oh my God, you're giving so much to me. And I'm like, you guys don't even know.
Yeah.
Doing this every day is a daily reminder to myself of where I'm at spiritually and emotionally that I needed, that I didn't even know that I needed.
I was thinking, like, because you're giving so much love, I was wondering, one of my questions was gonna be like, how do you handle all the things that are said in the comments? Because they're heavy and they're deep and they're, you know, but it seems like going into it, you might already have that armor. You might have already come into that because you took care of Nicole beforehand. So there's not any kind of reacting to what's been said or what's not been said, or like how like numbers or anything, like, because that's not, obviously not why you're doing it.
How do I handle the things that are said? I think it feels like gratifying that what I set to intentionally do is happening.
Yeah.
So, and it's so interesting, like with the breath work, I'm like calling in peace for Nicole and breathing out, and then I can call in peace for others. And then when people are affirming, like, oh, I listen to this every day, this is like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, it's like that energy is magnifying. And I'm like, oh my God, it's working. And I'm so, like, I think it's an insane concept to like even think like, wow, I have 100,000 followers now, right? Which is insane. And I'm reaching 500,000 people a month, and Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And I'm like, holy crap, this is powerful. Like, loving yourself is powerful. Calling in your own peace is that powerful. We can all intentionally do this for ourselves and like really change things, like change the world, like change ourselves. We change the world when we change ourselves.
Yeah.
I was like, what? It's just so insane.
Yeah. And it just, and that's the thing, is it starts that small, and yeah, you're early on in your journey. With so much to do, so much. I feel like you haven't.
We both are.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, we cross paths for a reason. You resonated with my content for a reason. You reached out. And this is actually, I turned down so many podcasts, but when I heard, like, this is the only podcast, I got invited to like 20 different, it is the only podcast I'm doing this season. Because like I really resonate with your story and like how you had to crawl yourself out of your own darkness and like where you're at now, and then like you transmuting love and like trying to help other people crawl out. Like I feel like we're aligned in like the things that we want to do and on the similar path and journey. So
thank you. I feel like I just got my own affirmation up. So that means so much. So funny. I was actually going to start off with this, but when we met, with the Christian Crosby, that was the first time that we met, and I had already like followed your content because of the social media club.
Shout out Christian.
Yeah. Oh, he's epic. That is unreal advice that he had there, and sharing his own story, the ups and downs, and just the journey too. But when we met, I was actually, so one of the things that I do, and I'm actually trying to get away from it, is like fasting. So I'll do like a 20 or like a 36-hour fast. So usually there's a time where I did every single Monday, I wouldn't eat. So I'd go from Sunday night till Tuesday morning, no food. Brings a lot of clarity, mental clarity. Just like, when you're ridding yourself of anything, and I don't eat that healthy, to be honest. So like, that's kind of like my time to, to feel my body. But I forget if the night that we met, I had been, it was in like the tough time of like a daily fast. Like you feel there's times that you feel good and energetic. And then there's like that time where it's like, it sinks in like, oh, like your body naturally needs food, but you're not going to give it. So like, you got to get over that hump. So when we met, I was in that hump. And then I think we got coffee a couple of days later. And this was when I did like a 3-day fast. And so when we met for coffee, I was at the end of the fast. And that when you're like day 2, 3, and I've done it for 4 days, you get so hype naturally, because as we were talking about with the coffee, like when you rid yourself of these things, you naturally have it. You have this energy that comes to play. And when we met the second time, I was like all over the place. But what I mean to say is thank you. That those words mean a lot to me. And
I mean them. Seriously, like your energy feels so good today. So I was like kind of shocked when you were telling me all that stuff. I was like, this person? But now like off the 3-day fast.
Like all over the place. Too funny. Well, we're going to take a quick time out in a second, but what I wanted to, I usually start off with this question and then we skipped over it, but I was really curious of your answer and I didn't prep any of this, but if you were an animal, what animal would you be and why?
I know this. I would be a bird.
That's what I said. Yeah. Tell me why.
I feel like they just are in a really cool vibration, and I would just love to fly.
Yeah.
And not just fly. Like I would love to coast. Like coast and feel the wind and be able to like have that world's bird's eye view. Bird's eye view of everything. And I just feel really spiritually connected to birds.
Just be chilling. I love that. I hadn't thought about my answer before. This morning I was chatting with Max and I said the same thing. I was like, I just want to go wherever. Just go with the world. Be chilling.
I just want to fly.
I don't know what kind of bird, but like I was like an eagle, too intense. I don't want to be like angry or anything.
I'd probably be a blue jay.
Beautiful bird. I love that. Would love flying around. Today would be a beautiful day to fly around. I'm not able to think of a quick enough transition to what our next topics are, but what we wanted to end on and talk more about here is the direction that you're heading. You clearly have worked so hard to get to where you are in your content journey. You're starting to monetize, do partnerships, and starting to find the people that not only want to work with you, but also want to give you an extended platform. So I would love if you wanted to share a little bit about your recent partnership. That's so cool. And we'll tag them and highlight their work as well.
Yeah, I just closed a brand deal with Nourish in Philly.
Congrats.
Super excited. Nourish is a vegan space. Shout out Sarah for believing in me. And I'm really taking my content to the next level. I want to partner with food brands, with music artists, high vibrational music, and anything that elevates. We talked about, Nicole, how do you elevate yourself and bring yourself to that space to communicate? And so I want to work with brands that help me do that. So food helps me do that. And I'm super excited. And I'm actually doing Affirmations to Black Men in person at Nourish and in these different spaces and in these different locations. So that's the next level of where my content is going. It's going to be, instead of the point and shoot from my phone, which is it's been great. It's been real. Yeah. It's almost a year of doing that. It's now going to be me holding Black men's hands and learning who they are and then expressing to them what I wish along their journey. And I've done about 18 recordings already. 18 affirmations to Black men, and the reactions are so insane, and you can feel like their whole spirit just being, it's like confusion, and then it's like also like gratification and like gratitude and then excitement. It's all of it. It's taking everything to the next level, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Like I said, the energy transfer that you could feel and see, whether it was with one of the ones that you already did in person, or like I said earlier with your mom, like the reaction, the way that I felt when you were just hyping me up about being on this podcast, I was like, it changes your energy. Like I feel looser, and to be able to do that to, for men, and then for them to be able to take that in, self-heal, grow, and then be able to, because like the way that I think about that, you're doing that to people in person. they're then taking that energy and transferring it to the people in their lives. And like, so like you're doing that, it's translating over the internet, but it's also like now to be able to do it in person and to really feel that energy. That's awesome. And that's something, it's one of the reasons why I do this in person, because I think there's something different to like feeling again, somebody's space. But what's, for the next like 6 months, I would say. So you're starting to monetize through these deals and partners that believe in the work that you're doing. And then as I said, like being able to give you that platform to do that in person. In 6 months, when looking back, where exactly do you want to be, or where do you think you'll be?
Yeah, thank you. I'm also monetizing off of my subscribers. As you said, I have 92 subscribers today. I'm really excited.
Let's go.
So in 6 months, I would love to have 1,000 subscribers.
Awesome.
I would love, love, love that, because that would allow me to go full-time, my videographer to go full-time, where we can create income for ourselves that is funded by our community. I think a lot of content creators have to sometimes compromise their vision and their brand and their purpose to work with brands to make money. And if my followers are funding the journey, then it's like a reciprocity of like, okay, amazing. You pour into me, I pour into you, and we can do this full time, and we can do this with brands that we believe in and people who we believe in. And it just like keeps that authenticity. And then I would also love to create a group of other women who are able to do the affirmations with me.
No way. That's awesome.
So it's not just me, and it feels like a collective of women. It feels like, I feel like a lot of the comments, a lot of people are saying like, oh, like 1 million, one of a kind, you know, and because it's just me doing it every single day, they don't really feel supported by a group. And so I want it to be group and community support. So that's where I see it going.
That's powerful. I didn't even think of that. That'd be so cool. It's like it's a platform for others to carry on your vision and mission and the energy that you're bringing.
Yes, like Affirmations for Black Men. It's not Nicole. It's going to be a community of people who are invested in the raising of consciousness and energy and mental and emotional health for Black men.
Yeah. And that's so cool to be able to do that with Nourish specifically, because the healthy food thing, as we talked about earlier, is like so important, so overlooked, because it is so much easier to just eat terribly.
And that's what I feel like my content does. I feel like it nourishes people because you can eat fast food and you can feel full, but you aren't nourished. And so you can be nourished by food and you can be nourished by words.
Yeah, let's go. I love that. So you also mentioned about doing a little bit of traveling. And being able to, film in different areas.
Yes.
Tell me about your plans there. And then also like, I think that there's something, as we talked about during the break, like I haven't traveled too much. I've been outside of the country one time to be able to see the world in different light, to see what other people are dealing with, the way that people live. It's again, we were talking about living in America is like so wild sometimes compared to the rest of the world. And then as you were talking about leaving the country, it's like, oh wait.
Yeah, I love traveling.
Yeah, there's a whole different perspective.
It's so beautiful. Like I have been all over the world actually. Like so I've traveled to almost like every continent.
No way.
And I've been to India, I've been to Japan, I've been to China, I've been to South America, I've been to Africa, Namibia, South Africa, Dubai. So I've been everywhere, and I've been able to see like massive wealth and like what that does and who people are. And then I've been able to see massive poverty, who people are and what that does. And what I found is that, some of the most impoverished people in the world are living better lives spiritually than some people who feel like they have everything because they are grateful and they're in community and they're existing in love. And so I realized that at a really young age. But what's coming up next as far as like traveling with Affirmations, my mom is hosting a getaway for Black women in October 14th. And she invited my videographers and me. And so I'm like, yo, I'm going to be in Jamaica. I'm going to sing affirmations to some Jamaicans. They don't know what's going to hit them. They don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
I'm super excited because like, I feel like, especially in, a place like Jamaica, and my videographer is actually Jamaican. He was born in Jamaica.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He didn't come to the US till he was 14. So his people are down there. And so I'm super excited to be able to bring Affirmations to Black men international.
Wow. That's at Jamaica. What a beautiful place to be. I mentioned this in the last episode. You know the movie Cool Runnings? The Jamaican bobsled movie. It's like a Disney movie.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like, it's a silly kind of like looking back, like movie. But the stories about these the Jamaican bobsled team, like they've got no ice down there. So they trained to, compete in the Olympics. Like it's like based on a loosely a true story. But it's one of those things where, again, like not having done much travel myself, opening up yourself to how other people live, what other people are dealing with through art, entertainment, culture, things like that. It's a whole. Have you been to Jamaica before?
I have, but when I was really young. So this will be my first like adult life experience.
Yeah.
And what I found in communities like Jamaica and even in Namibia and when I went to Africa is that people who make the best of what they have and are living in gratitude for what they have are living so much more abundantly and have so much more of like a magnetic energy about them and their spirit, and is like, it has everything to do with like what you feel about life is the type of life that you're gonna have. And I'm so excited to like give them their flowers for being able to live these full lives despite their circumstances.
Wow. That's, yeah. It's like the more you have, the more it clouds, as we talk about energy, all that vision of like what's really, because like life really is great. It really isn't all that bad. But I think that as we get consumed with all of the things around us, how we look, how we present ourselves to the world, like we were talking about kind of at the beginning, it's like when you're in those modes, like you're not thinking about those kinds of things. You're like either surviving or just living versus creating this kind of shell, I would say.
Yeah. I want people to be more concerned with how their life feels. And if you think of life as a feeling, if you think of your day as a feeling and less of how it looks, you would rather a life that feels good than a life that looks good.
Yeah.
Because looks can be deceiving.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I'm going to ask you an even longer term question. So outside of 6 months, like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, where do you want to be? What is it? And here's a hypothetical question. So say you have a family and you're, 40, 50 years old. What is it that you want to look at your daughter the same way that your mom, I don't even know her, but I could say that I'm sure she's so proud of you. What is it that you want to look at your daughter and say, like, all of this work that you've done has then helped create, another human being? Like, what is something that you want your daughter to say someday? Like, this is my mom. This is what she's done. She's a badass. Like all these different things.
What would I like my daughter to say about me? I think that I just want if I do have children, I'm not sure if I want them.
Yeah, I don't want to put
yet.
that on you.
But if I do have children, I just would hopefully like them to say that she created a safe enough space for us to grow and be ourselves, and where it felt like we felt nurtured. Like I want my life to really feel abundant and feel like safe. I don't want my kids to feel like they can't talk to me or they can't be themselves. I want to be able to nurture like the authentic person that is living in my house or living with me.
Yeah. Man, I don't know how kids or people do kids. It's like I asked that question that I immediately think like so far off. Like I'm sure for both of us.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Right? Maybe if I do have kids, maybe in 5 years. But I would want my life to kind of like feel at a place where I feel comfortable enough to have kids in this economy.
Yeah.
Right now, no.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
That's actually, I had a conversation with a friend earlier this week. She just bought a house with her boyfriend, and they'll be getting married at some point. I don't want to put that on them too, but geez, now I did. But she was talking about, she was like even thinking about having kids in the world that we live in today. She's like, do I want to bring children into this with like, again, like we talked about stability, like with the way that the world feels a little unstable.
Yeah.
She has those thoughts. And I think those are thoughts that a lot of people are having as, it's also like just statistically, everyone's having kids older now because I mean, again, financially even to be able to.
It's like a Louis Vuitton bag having a kid now. It's like, how do you afford that?
Yeah. To even start like, everything costs. Yeah,
but somebody told me a year or two ago, they were like, we need freedom fighters. So if you're able to free yourself, most likely you'll be able to free your child. And you never know, you might be the one to have a child that helps free the world.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So more long-term questions as far as a brand goes. What is something like totally off the wall, a big goal or dream or something like, is there a certain place that you've thought of? Like I saw somebody else, a podcaster said like, I want to sell out Madison Square Garden one time to do a live podcast. Is there anything that you like looking back would be like, all right, like this is the, even if it's in your head, even if it's motivational or you just kind of like going with the flow and like, you don't think that long term.
Yeah. I think a long-term vision, I see, and it's so interesting. You can't be what you don't see, right? And so, so there's not a lot of people who are 10 years ahead in the lane that I'm in, because I've really created a lane of my own.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of see what's going to happen in 10 years from now, because not a lot of people are on this path. But if I do see myself 10 years from now, I would love to see myself like living like as Oprah, or like as like with my own talk show host, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like being able to have more conversations on like a larger platform and a larger scale.
Yeah. Oprah, what a legend.
Right?
Like
Amazing.
I grew up, it was funny, like growing up, running around, hanging with my mom, and I'm one of four, so she was always running around doing something.
You're the youngest, right?
I am the third of four.
Okay.
I've got a younger brother who's kind of like an older brother. Like I look up to him, but he's the best. But I remember Oprah always being on and just being fascinated. It's funny. I didn't even think about the impact that those kinds of things at that age had on me, and now what I'm doing, talking to people. But I'm sure like at that young age, like I was picking up on things. Like I was,
What about you? I mean, where do you see yourself? What's happening over there?
I gotta, like we were saying, like I need to sit down at some point and write like a plan, a 6-month plan. I know what's at the end. At the end for me is I want to be able to talk to anybody about anything. And that's one of the things where I'm trying already. Like we talked about, like this is practice. I'm practicing to have tough conversations. There's questions I've asked here. There's questions I've asked in other episodes where it's like, I don't think that there's spaces where you can have these open, honest, vulnerable conversations with a variety of different people. And I want to be able to talk again, like really open things up. And one of the things as I was, sketching out, because I sketched out exactly where I got here, I've written all of this. I had a plan, I've executed it. I just haven't restarted the plan or just like done the next steps of the plan. But when I was in my earliest phase, somebody was like, well, if you don't have a specific niche, you're not going to have anything. You can't have all of these different kinds of things. And I was like, well, like, no, like that's what I want to do. I want to create that space. Like you're saying, of like creating a lane. And I think that there's, as I mentioned in the last episode that I had, questions on my friend who came on and talked about having autism, being a person living with autism. And there's some friends that just hit me up. They're like, dude, I just like didn't even understand this. I never thought about this. And I'm like, yeah, like I've never really heard somebody else talk openly about it the way that my friend Mike did. And it's like when you explain things like that, I don't know. So I guess my long-winded answer is that I want to have tough conversations in unique ways and allow people to see the humans behind all of these masks that we put up. Like when we were talking about in the break about like presidents and stuff like that, like they're human beings, like making these, like when people talk about Biden or whatever, like I won't say anything politically, but like it's just still a human being who has a family, who deals with all these things. And there's like, I think that just gets completely lost. Like when we think about athletes, I think I've mentioned this one other time on here, but like I was exposed to when Ben Simmons was playing in Philadelphia. I, through a friend, got to, spend a night going out with them. And there was like people, when he would walk around, we went into a bar, like people were screaming at him about his shooting and his free throws. And I'm like, this kid's 23 years old. He's a human being. He's trying to have fun with his friends and he can't get away from being criticized. And I'm like, that's a man behind there. It's not even a man yet. It's like a boy still. Like I'm 27. I still feel like a boy. Yeah. But I'm like, all of these things get so lost. Oh, well, he makes millions of dollars. Like, what is that doing for his humanness? It's not like, it's not what it is. And with more, whatever that saying, like greater power becomes greater responsibility. And I think we're all just trying to figure it out. And I guess like one of the things, like all the people that I look up to, like you, like I literally immediately was just like, who are you? How did you get here? Why? Like, what are the stepping stones? And
just growing within yourself.
Yeah.
Just you're the stepping stone. Figuring out you're the key.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm going to be thinking about a lot of the things that we said today, or that you said today, and we talked about to grow, because these are growing moments. And I guess to end on that, thank you. I really appreciate what you do, you coming here today, and I'm so excited to be able to share with the people who've been listening and supporting me in my journey, your journey, because it's one that has affected me and kept me motivated and kept me inspired as well.
Wow.
Because when you put your mind to it, as you have, you can create your own reality.
Aw, thank you. I'm gonna cry. This is like the best interview, guys. Like, this is like one of my best. Like, I'm shook.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And whether we cut this out or not, but like again, like we talked about before we even sat down, like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, I think you have to, I care, and to do the work, and I'm also, when caring about something and actually being interested in it, like that's where I feel like I am. It's so fun. Like I have so much fun doing this. I have a wedding tonight. I've been thinking about it all week. I'm like, I'm going to have this talk.
Wow.
I'm going to go home. I'm going to feel good, because I always feel good after these. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about love next.
Yeah, well, Chris, you're on the right path. I want to say, like, I've been in podcasting, I've been in content creation. Like, I loved this conversation, and I know I'm going to love the content that you're putting out, and I'm a fan as well. And like, I'm so grateful that you were able to like talk to me on this level of your journey, because I know this ceiling there's no ceiling for you. Yeah.
I'm so hyped. Thank you. No, I'm going to cry, but I can't wait to do it again sometime. There's one of the other plans is, as far as talking about it in the future, things that I wanted to do. Like, I'm so excited that I got to meet you at your stage in this journey, and same thing for you. The ceiling isn't there. So like, to be able to do this once a year, like that's kind of one of my things. I want to have, like, again, how you're going to develop. We'll be able to look back on this as a memory. And then again, maybe when you are a mom, maybe when we do, do the things that we dream of, we'll look back and be like, well, we were talking about
it. We manifested it.
Yeah. It took a lot. But
thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.